and welcome to Spring in the Garden here at this is Purley Park. My name is Martin Horne. I'm doing this on behalf of Martin for about my area. I'm going to tell you today just a little about how to sow and prick out half-hardy annuals. Now, a half-hardy annual is a plant that's been imported into this country, such as our bedding plants, the various bedding plants. You all will know the different bedding plants. Today we're going to sow the seed of Salpiglossis. A half-hardy plant, by the nature of its name, needs some kind of protection. So we will sow it and grow it on either in a propagator or in the heated greenhouse. We'll walk through to the heated greenhouse and you'll see what I've got here to show you. You can probably hear the buzz of the electric heater in the background. This time of year, frost can be very dangerous to plants, and the aim really is to protect them in the early stages, sow the seed and then bring them on as seedlings, protect them from any possible frost, keep them warm, and then gradually what we will do is what's called hardening off. Hardening off is accustomizing the plants to the outside conditions. So by late spring, early summer, we should be able to have some plants ready to go into the garden, but they have to be eased in gently because the cells of the plants are very, very susceptible to frost and cold and chill. Here we have the seed of the Salpiglossis. Rather small seed that we can spread onto the tray. I like to put them in the palm of my hand and then bring them over, use the palm of my hand as a groove and then just tap them onto the compost. Spreading them out because they need a bit of room to grow. Later on I'll show you about pricking out, something called pricking out, but we just spread them as evenly as possible across the tray. That will probably do us. Seal the pack, roll it, seal it so there's no air can get into it, and we can save that for another day. That's Salpiglossis, that's how it looks, Salpiglossis bolero. And that's an archetypal bedding plant, one that we can put out into our flower beds in the summer. Right, so we've sown the seed. Now, I like to just put a little bit of vermiculite over the top of them. Vermiculite acts like a buffer. This is quite soft to the touch. Acts like a buffer. Just covers the seed lightly, and it does reduce the possibility of what's called damping off. Damping off comes when there's too much moisture on the compost and the poor seedlings find no oxygen with which to grow. Three things very important for seeds to germinate and for seedlings to grow. Number one is warmth, which we've always mentioned, or already mentioned. Then they need some circulation of air. And finally, a little drop of moisture. So what I'll do with this, when I've finished, cover it all over, I'll put it into a water tray and let the water come up to keep the compost moist. Then it goes over into the greenhouse trays. As you can see, we've got quite a nice range of plants already in the greenhouse. It's early spring. We've jumped away and got quite a nice lot covered. What I would need to do, if I want to, when the plants have grown sufficiently, they're going to need a little bit of space to grow on. And then I had to do then what I say was what I called pricking out. I'm going to use this, which is not a traditional plant dibber, but these plants may be growing a bit too closely together. So what I do, I lift one out, always handled by the leaves, never by the stem. Out it comes, the soil's nice and moist, compost nice and moist. Hand it by the leaves, not by the stem. The reason for that is you could strangle the poor chap. If you damage a leaf, well, it's not the end of the world. If you damage the stem, it can kill the plant completely. I'll prick it out, and then I plant it to give it a little bit of room. Make a hole, dibble it in, place the plant into the compost, and then each plant will have more room to grow. Each seedling grows on. So eventually they may be put into a pot, like the tomatoes, potted up as it's called, and then the next stage up after that, when they've outgrown the pot, is potting on into something, say, of this size, and then eventually the plants will go out into the garden. What else do I need to say? Oh, before I started, I should have shown really, but I use what's called a tamping tool, or well, plant tapper down really, a compost tapper down. And I would press that compost down firmly, but not ram it down, just press it down so that it will house the seed. And everything's ready to come out of the greenhouse. You could then put it outside